developing countries participating in the COP27 summit called for a lost and damaged compensation fund to address the consequences of climate change. And of the resources allocated to the whole sector by 2023. In Haiti, developing countries participating in the COP27 summit called for a loss and damage compensation fund to address the consequences of climate change. Russian President Vladimir Putin reiterated his country's readiness to provide grain and fertilizers to African countries for free. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. The sixth Conference on International Cooperation of the Association of Caribbean States will conclude on Friday in Havana, Cuba, with a debate focused on the fight against climate change and regional development. The conference discussed projects to mitigate the climate crisis, seeks ways of economic development through intra-regional trade integration, and provide connectivity. The association also seeks to promote sustainable tourism, which was affected by the health crisis. During the interventions, attendants present specific initiative which seeks to reduce the impact of climate change on coastal erosion, improve the management and administration of waste in sea, and analyze the migratory mobilization caused by global warming. The United Nations organization requests the government of the Dominican Republic to stop deportation of Haitian citizens to their country of origin. United Nations representative informed that there are violence and human rights violations in Haiti do not allow the safe, dignified and sustainable return of citizens. They also reiterate that call to all the countries of the region to stop the deportation of Haitians due to the crisis generated by the violence of armed gangs in the Caribbean country. For his part, the spokesman of the Dominican presidency, Homero Figueroa, indicated that his country deported 6,204 Haitians between August and October 2022 and emphasized that the operation were carried out following the lines of President Luis Abinader. In Panama, a local media's report warns of high poverty rates despite favorable microeconomic indicators. The survey estimates that after COVID-19, Panama's general poverty rate stands at 25%, which affects 1.1 million Panamanians on a population of a little more than 4.2 million people. It is also indicated that due to worldwide inflation, the value of a basic family basket has increased in the last month. The figures reveal our social GDP as Afro-descendants, women and farmers are hit the hardest, and emphasize that 90% of native people in the countryside were live in poverty. The 80 meeting of the Puebla Group is taking place in Santa Marta, Colombia, focusing on the importance of building a progressive political integration agenda in Latin America. Under the slogan, "The Region United for Change," the meeting is attended by some 100 Latin American leaders from more than 10 countries. The offer was at the center of this Thursday session as attendance discusses how the legal worms are a reality and a constant to intimidate and limit progressive leadership so the Latin American Council on Justice and Democracy continues to advance in the denunciation and dissemination of these cases. In Argentina, the Academic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, CLAC, announces 20-year setback in women's participation in the workforce during the 50th General Women's Conference. Their general body denounced that the coronavirus pandemic triggered a setback in the labor participation levels of women in Argentina. It also showed that if policies to close to gendered GPSs were implemented, the gross domestic product could increase by up to 6.9% by 2030. The document consulted from meeting of Latin American activists and officials who debated the origins, consequences, and solutions to the overburden of unpaid domestic and care work that mainly falls on women. In Brazil, outgoing President Jair Bolsonaro's government cut 50% of the resources allocated to the health sectors by 2023. A survey by the Institute for Health Policy Studies shows a 50% cut in several health areas as part of the Bolsonaro administration budget planning for 2023. The Brazilian Health Economics Association stated that the cuts were motivated by the division of close to 20 billion Brazilians reais. According to the organization, that while funds for the parliamentary reforms increase, resources for social programs decrease. We'll take our very first break now, but remember, you're gonna follow us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, in which we'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. The Brazilian Institute of Special Research reported an increase in deforestation in the Amazon. According to the deforestation alerts released this Friday by the Institute, the accumulated alerts have beat a new historical record with 904 kilometers of devastated forest for the month of October. According to the information registered only by the deforestation detection system in real time, the devastation of the forest in the first 10 months of the year already surpassed the data of 2021, with 8,219 square kilometers of vegetation were razed. In Egypt, developing countries participating in the COP27 summit called for loss and damage compensation funds to address the consequences of climate change. The most vulnerable nations to natural disasters caused by climate change, which are also the ones that release the less pollution elements, managed to include in the forum's agenda the issue of a loss and damage compensation fund to address the recovery of national devastation by the floods, landslides, storms, and other climate disasters. Officially, countries participating in the COP27 summit still have 2 years to negotiate this issue. In parallel to the COP27, activists from all over the world gathered to demand proper climate actions, better preventive measures, and to tell the stories that mainstream media keeps in silent. That's the case of Isabel Moneca, an indigenous activist from the Mariana Islands, who offered her testimonies to our collaborator Oscar Epelde regarding the environmental mark of U.S. awareness in her country.
It's part of the ocean, right? My country is right on top of the Marianas Trench, and we have this deep, profound relationship with the ocean and our small islands they have provided for us for 4,000 years. And in the last 100 years, with U.S. colonization, we've seen the erasure and erosion of our culture and a lot of degradation to our environment. Contamination is pretty much a guarantee with military activities, but cleanup of their contamination is never a guarantee. We see this in Hawaii, we see this in Okinawa, we see this in many other locations where there's military bases, that environmental degradation is just rampant, and they don't and are barely ever accountable for the cleanup aspect.
Non-Southeast Asian leaders began the Association of Southeast Asian Nations summit in Cambodia on Friday, with Myanmar's political crisis expected to dominate discussions. Cambodia this year shares for the Asian is hosting the weekend summit in Phnom Penh in what is the group's first in-person meeting since the COVID-19 pandemic. The 10-nation bloc is made up of Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, the Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. Myanmar, however, was not invited to this year's summit following the military coup in 2021, which saw its elected leader, Aung San Suu Kyi, ousted from power. Leaders from the United States, China, South Korea, and Japan will also be the meeting ASEAN leaders in Phnom Penh.
We are now at the most uncertain juncture. The lives of millions in our region depend on our wisdom and foresight, our right decisions and policies, and our realistic approach to address the strategic challenge we all face. There is a saying that disasters and crises can bring out the best in people. In this connection, I believe that all of us gathering here today share a sense of urgency to work together in addressing the above common challenge.
Ugandan authorities extend a 3-week lockdown on 2 districts at the center of an Ebola outbreak, which has claimed 53 lives, curbing travel and closing public places. Health Minister Ruth Yanaisen said the lockdown of Mbende and Kasanda district will be extended for another 21 days. The lockdown includes a dusk to dawn curfew, a ban on personal travel, and a closure of markets, bars, and churches. Since the outbreak was declared in the central district of Mumbai on September 20, the disease has spread across the East African nation, including the capital, Kampala. The strain now circulating in Uganda is known as the Syrian Ebola virus, for which there is currently no vaccine, although there are several candidates vaccine heading towards clinical trials. In France, the 5th Forum for the Peace is taking place on Friday at the capital of that nation, focusing this year in Latin American countries. The presidents of Argentina, Alberto Fernandez, and Colombia, Gustavo Petro, as well as the president of the National Assembly of Venezuela, Jorge Rodriguez, attend the event. Venezuelan officials advocate on Friday for the respect of the institutional framework and the suspension of all unilateral coercive measures against Venezuela as a way towards peace. The forum counts with outstanding personalities from different continents who will address global challenges such as international conflicts, cybercrimes, and climate change. The president of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, urged for the changing world drug policy during the 5th Peace Forum in Paris. In his speech, the Colombian president insisted that drug consumption should be a public health issue, so he suggests that the resources that are invested in the war of drugs could be allocated to the prevention of drug intake. President Gustavo Petro also stated that the war on drugs, which has left a million Latin American deaths, is a sign that his policy has failed. More news coming up after this final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back. A rescue ship carrying 230 people died at the French port at Toulon in a French-Italian dispute over which country is responsible for them. The Ocean Viking, operated by the French non-governmental organization, picked up the asylum seekers at the sea near the Libyan coast before spending weeks seeking a port to accept them. France had never before allowed a rescue vessel carrying from the Mediterranean to land on its coast, but it saw this time because Italian had refused its access. Family members and colleagues of assassinated Palestinian journalist Shireen Abu Khaled told United Nations investigators she had been deliberately triggered as part of Israel's wide-scale war on Palestinian media workers. The killing of the veteran of Al Jazeera reporter who was wearing a bulletproof vest, marked press, and an emblem when he was shot in the head during an army operation in a Jenin refugee camp in the occupied West Bank on May 11 is the subject of one of the first in a series of public hearings at the United Nations. At the hearings, family members and colleagues demanding concrete unacceptability and justice for the crime.
Israel killed Shireen Abu Akleh, and they tried to kill me and other colleagues in cold blood. We were standing in front of the Israeli soldiers, and they were looking at us the same way we were looking at them. However, they fired at us with the aim to kill us. The bullet they fired it here, but as I turned, the bullet hit me from behind. They shot Shireen Abu Akleh here. They could have aimed at her and hand or feet, but they wanted to kill her. We should expose the occupation and try whoever gave the green light to kill Shireen Abu Akleh.
In Uzbekistan, the city of Samarkand hosted the 9th summit of the Organization of Turkic State. The event, also known as the Summit of the Turkish-speaking countries, brought together the head of state of Azerbaijan, Uzbekistan, and Turkey, among others. The community, of which Hungary and Turkmenistan are observer members, has a population of more than 200 million people and significant energy potential, military development, and strategic transport routes. The union of these bloc of countries is a process that has been underway since the end of the Soviet Union, when representatives of the Central Asian countries that are in various ways revealed through history and cultural traditions of Turkey were convened in Ankara. And shifting topics, in Russia, President Vladimir Putin reiterated his country's readiness to provide grain and fertilizers to African countries for free. The president confirmed that the announcement made by the Russian Ministry of Agriculture at the end of October regarding the shipment of 500,000 tons of grain to the poorest countries in Africa, suffering from food shortages and tensions over the conflict in Ukraine. The announcements followed the Kremlin's decision to hold the agreement on the export of Ukrainian grain brokered by Turkey after the cargo ships flying to Russian flags were attacked by drones in waters of the humanitarian corridor. And China hotly condemned El Salvador for completely abolishing the so-called free trade agreement with the Taiwan region, which is where the greater national interests lies, and it is what the people desire, said Foreign Ministry spokesman Saul Yan.
On the evening of November 7 local time, the Constitutional Chamber of the Supreme Court of Justice in El Salvador ordered the cessation of the effects of the protective measure for the so-called free trade agreement with Taiwan, which marks the complete abolition of the deal. In doing so, El Salvador has chosen to stand on the right side of history and made a decision that serves the fundamental and long-term interests of both countries. China highly appreciates that. This again shows that upholding the One China principle is an overriding trend that represents the overwhelming consensus of the world and enjoys popular support. This is a trend that no force can hold back.
We have a disclaimer to announce. Our Facebook page has been hacked and currently it is playing content out of our agenda and against our social, moral, and political and informative premises. We stress teleSUR English is not responsible for this process that violates Facebook community standards. We hope this company will give us back our credentials as soon as possible and resume our regular posts on that social network. We have come to the end of this brief. You can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also use us on our socials. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram as well. teleSUR English, I'm from the South. I'm Ana Marrero, and thank you for watching.